And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking it back to the old school with the Warriors of Chaos Forsaken Rush, all the way back to Game 1. Now, as far as the build goes, pretty much everything in the roster is going to be somewhat mutated, with the exception of a couple Chaos Marauders. And today we face off against the Skaven, who shall be led by XMT Red Legion, Lord Skrull, and a bunch of Rat Ogres as well. Now, honestly, even though Forsaken aren't really one of the better units in the game, I do think they have a niche application against Skaven. So, of course, Skaven baseline troops like Skaven Slaves and Clan Rats, they don't really have the best melee attack, nor are they very hard-hitting with good armor-piercing values. And that's pretty much the big weakness of Forsaken. Forsaken have 20 melee defense and are very, very squishy with a relatively low model count compared to some other infantry units. You can see here they have 60. I think Marauders have like 90, and a lot of like basic infantry in the game are like kind of 75 range. But anyways, Forsaken have 65 weapon strength, a charge bonus of 39, and 46 speed. So against Skaven, that's really quick. Skaven aren't one of the faster factions, so Forsaken can often outmaneuver many of their baseline troops, but more importantly, they're absolute buzzsaws. If you get Forsaken on top of Clan Rats or Skaven Slaves, normally, they can occupy Marauders or Chaos Warriors for a period of time, but not Forsaken. These guys come in with that charge bonus of 40 and almost 70 weapon strength, which is insane, and they can really buzzsaw through a lot of those Skaven troops pretty well. So the front line is going to be 4 Forsaken, one of which is the Demon Spew, Nurgle's favorite Forsaken, and on the flanks we have a couple Chaos Marauders as well, and I just had a little bit of extra money and I couldn't quite afford another Forsaken, but these Chaos Marauders are already pretty good against Skaven. They can fight the low tier troops, they're shielded, so if Skaven come in with like a skirmish build, like some Gutter Runners are very annoying units, you can basically chase them down with Chaos Marauders. Now, aside from that, it's going to be Spawn, so we have Spawn, Spawn, and Spawn, the weird Spawn, and of course they're going to be backed up by a greater Lord of Change here, Sartorial the Everwatcher. He's just kind of doing a squat here, not really sure what he's up to, but as far as what he has, he's going to be having just Final Transmutation, because Skaven love, in this matchup, or in matchups in which you're being swarmed, Skaven love to get their Council Guard, a Hellpit Abomination, some characters, and sit in a blob, basically, and force you to come to them. So Sartorial the Everchicken is probably one of the better characters in the game for bunker busting Skaven blobs. He causes terror and is also very tough to snipe as well, with a really good missile and magic resist. Double Manticore is super essential here as well. Really good at gooning out Skaven characters and fighting some of the monsters with cycle charging. Those bad boys do some really good work. We do also have 2 groups of Marauder Horsemen, and that is it. And now for the Skaven army, it's going to be classic stuff. Skaven Slaves, Clan Rats, a couple Slingers, which is actually a good choice against my Spawn Rush. In the back, just like we predicted here, we have the Council Guard, Hellpit Abomination, Skrull, Assassin, and that is it, with the Warp Lightning Cannon supporting as well, backed up by the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers. So here the Warp Lightning Cannons are going to be going after the chicken, and the chicken is going to take it right on the face. He's certainly pretty tanky against such shots, and him being unbreakable, of course, we don't care too much, but this is where things get really crazy. When the Forsaken reach the front line, look at the Skaven Slaves, they're just like, oh god, this is going to suck so bad. I mean, that is going to be a ton of burst damage. I'm pretty sure I gave the charge order, I can't quite remember, but nonetheless, the Forsaken will be charging into the Rats here, and they are going to be able to tear these guys to shreds pretty quick. Immediately on impact, over 10 Skaven Slaves go down, plus Warp Chicken and Spawn. The Skaven front line really will not hold up terribly long. Now, the Skaven playstyle in this matchup and against factions like this is basically just to kind of drag them through the mud and wear them down over the course of multiple layers. But here we get a nasty Final Transmutation, hitting Skrull, Council Guard, Hellpit, Assassin, Ogres. That was really, really painful. We pretty much hit everything of value there in that Skaven army. Now we have a bit of a monster mash. He does have Hellpit here and Assassin as well with Council Guard, so my Spawn aren't going to be terribly happy. Nice little Rod of Corruption as well is going to be going down, but even though the Skaven have some good stopping power here, we do have 2 Manticores. So the Manticores are going to be jumping in the back, and that will probably tear out pretty much anything that isn't the Council Guard or the Hellpit Abomination off that engagement. Now, if we really look around, though, even though this is kind of the epicenter here of the battlefield, the Forsaken have already gotten 83 kills, just cleaned out the chaff, are now tearing apart Rat Ogres, which are very lightly armored. These Slingers have been completely buckled off. The Spears defending them have pretty much no chance. We got some Hounds in the back, but my opponent here did a pretty good job getting his Tail Slashers to intercept them before I could get on that artillery piece. But nonetheless, the Spawn and Forsaken, very, very nasty, tearing apart many of these Skaven lines, and here doing pretty much the same thing as well. And of course, Demon Spew are just even better. I mean, 27 melee defenses makes a pretty big difference compared to their usual low 20s. And honestly, Forsaken with their combat stats do some pretty good damage against Ogre-type units as well, like lightly armored monstrous units, like Minotaurs and things like that. Forsaken can actually hurt them if they get the charge off. So here we have the Warp Chicken, going to be slam jamming, space dunking all over Lord Skrull, and the Hellpit Abomination here is fighting the Rampaged Manticores, and the Council Guard are holding pretty firm. And of course, the Weird Spawn are getting very worn down, so that's pretty much the one pocket of the Skaven battlefield that is going well for them. Aside from that, Forsaken are pretty much tearing everything to shreds everywhere. The artillery crews in the back have been taken apart, and the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, though they are resilient for Rats, with 37 melee defense, still only have 25 armor, so Spawn and Forsaken will tear those elite Ratsies completely apart. It looks like a couple of Skaven Slave Slingers have come back, which of course gives him a bit of a answer against these Chaos Spawn. And yeah, I really do think Slingers are pretty good in this matchup against the Spawn Rush, as are Rat Ogres. I think you pretty much always want to go quad Rat Ogre. I don't know how many he had, because probably one of the better answers that the Skaven do have against Forsaken, if you put like a Clan Rat in a Skaven Slave, or a Skaven Slave with a Rat Ogre against a Forsaken, they will probably win that trade, and the Forsaken will take a ton of burst damage and probably break off. But nonetheless, the Demon Spew and the other dudes are going to be chasing down the Clan Rats, and here we have our Marauder Horsemen able to get some good, not anti-large fire, but decent fire here into the Helped Abomination. Chew that bad boy down, and from here, the mutated Forsaken will be chasing down the Rats across the battlefield. There are some pockets of strength. We have some Rat Ogres and Clan Rats and things like that. But for the most part, once the Hell Pit runs off the battlefield, it still has, almost 3,000 HP. You'll notice that the Balance of Power is going to be taking a massive polarity shift here, as it does go and that Hell Pit runs, and we'll probably do a little bit of fast forwarding here as it's mostly cleanup, and that's going to be all she wrote. So this video will be a 2-for-1. We're going to be having 2 battles, both of which were very quick, but also illustrate the strength of various strategies that I think kind of fly under the radar. Now, the Forsaken got a ton of kills, 154, 141, 95, 117. Granted, that is against Skaven Slaves and Chaff units for the most part, but I do think, like, if I were probably in a tournament setting, I might mix in Demon Spew plus like one other Forsaken. I don't know how hard I would go like this. But honestly, I feel like this build would be a little bit tricky for many Skaven to deal with. I mean, the double Manticore, the final transmutation, all of those things can be very punishing, but obviously things went pretty well with us nuking Skrulk and those characters in the beginning. The Manticores following up. Skrulk did not get to live very long. But now, as far as his matchup goes, I think that Skaven have some really good tools here. I do think his build certainly had some teeth, but we'll actually go to the drawing board and do a little bit of a kind of work on that one. I haven't played this matchup in a while, but you definitely need to drag the Warriors of Chaos through the mud a little bit more. Having just a single battle line, which then opens up into your back line, doesn't really work. Granted, he kind of had that, but yeah, the Forsaken and Spawn just like tore through it so quick. It was quite powerful for sure. So well played to Red Legion. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel if you guys haven't seen it. He's a new and upcoming YouTuber. There'll be a link in the comment section below. And now we will jump on over and do a little bit of road work here, trying to figure out the matchup. I haven't played it in a long time, but I do feel like Skaven have some really, really good tools in this matchup. And I honestly do feel like it would be a little bit Skaven favored. So a Grey Seer and or Ikit Claw, I actually really like Ikit. You just put him on a Doom Wheel. You can pretty much cut all these abilities. And also to help stop the Manticores, you just get the Howling Warp Gale, right? So suddenly Ikit Claw, he's a hard counter against Forsaken. Forsaken will do almost nothing to him. And he's very tough to snipe as well. He could just ignore Warp Chicken, just run amok amongst the infantry, and he'll do a good job for you. Howling Warp Gale, again, can be used to lock down the big boys. Plague Priest as well. Mortis Engine Effect is another hard counter against Forsaken and infantry spam. So in this guy, you basically just get the summons, and he's on his bell. He's having a good old time. He's enjoying life. And last but not least, I do think an Assassin is helpful for helping to take out like the chicken in the fourth quarter. So your front line, I think, is going to be Skaven Slave Spears, just like, 4 or 5 of those guys even. And then your secondary line is going to be just like Clan Rats, and you can just get a couple of those. And yeah, so you'll have like 2 layers getting into the backfield. Now, I'm trying to think about how I feel about artillery. It depends on the map, of course. Like some maps you don't want to have like too much, or you want to have some or more. It really depends on the map, but I think for Rat Ogres is going to help you win that front line against Chaos. They beat Chosen, they beat Forsaken with support. They beat Marauders very easily. I think you really got to maximize that. So basically, 4 Ogres plus Ikit Claw plus the Plague Priest is going to help you win pretty much any ground engagement. Of course, not any, but it's going to be very, very effective. From here, I think getting a couple Gutter Runners isn't bad. I actually like the Gutter Runner, and then you mix in a Night Runner Slinger as well. One of the kitey ones. Those are the Slingers. Yeah, just regular Night Runner. So these guys will be in tandem with one another. You basically just have them focus the Manticores down. When the Manticores are flying overhead, they pull back, they just kite them, they rampage them, and then hopefully from there they'll be pulled into some of the other assets in your army, and you'll be fine. So Jezzails aren't bad. I think you don't want to have too many missile units to protect in this matchup, but that is pretty good against the Manticores and things like that. But is it that useful against the troops? I mean, I'm kind of on the fence between like a Mortar and or a Jezzail right here. A little bit of a tricky choice. I mean, you have plenty of anti-infantry. I suppose the only thing that's really going to wreck you now at this point is going to be the monsters. So just get like a single Jezzail just to shoot the Manticores with the Night Runners, and I think you're kind of covering your bases. I can't remember how many Rat Ogres you're allowed to bring in tournament rules. I think it's 4 or 5. I would even go to 5 though if you could. Like if it's not illegal in banner rules and the tournaments we're using, I would recommend like 5, but I think 4 might be the cap. I can't quite remember, but basically from here, guys, you can mix in like Ixcha's Triads are pretty good for summoning like roadblocks. So how would you afford that? You would have to cut something. The Plague Priest has Plague Rash, which is pretty good. Ikit Claw is pretty much stripped down to his bare bones here. Yeah, that's a little bit tricky. I guess you could just cut some of these guys. It doesn't really matter too much, and replace them with the cheaper variant, which is going to open up. Yeah, this looks pretty good. These guys are also a good backline sweeper against like Chaos Pressure. So yeah, I feel like this build will be very effective. Give it a try, guys. And now we shall jump on over to the second game, which is going to be my Empire facing off against the Greenskins of King of the Dead. And now we're back in business with the second game here, which is going to be on a very strange map, the Bay of Corsairs Isle North. It's going to be Volkmar the Grim facing off against Skarsnik, and this was actually pre-nerf to the fermented fungi. So as you guys know, there's been a patch which has halved the duration of the fermented fungi. It's only 17 seconds now, so certainly much more manageable. Now, as far as the army goes, this is a build I've been kind of working on against the Greenskins, and it's very much a meta answer against the Stone Trolls. So I actually run a bunch of handgunners, which you almost never see in matchups in which you're worried about being, kind of swarmed. So front line's going to be Flagellant, Sigmar Sons, and Volkmar the Grim. So we do have an unbreakable front line, which obviously may struggle against elite Greenskin troops, but against goblins or anything like that quality, they'll win. We got triple handgunner in the back. Handgunners are very effective at taking out Stone Trolls, spiders, monsters, any Greenskin mounts. I mean, I actually really do like handgunners, and I think that Empire has some of the best cheap heavy cav to actually protect your back line. Empire Knights with 110 armor, very resilient. So 2 Empire Knights as well. We have 3 Empire Knights actually. We have a cannon in the back and some spearmen. Now for King of the Dead, going to be coming in with a bit of a Vanguard swarm here. So he's got Night Goblins into the Sunset, a bunch of Squig Hoppers, some nasty Skulkers, Skarsnik with Rampage, which is quite scary. He's able to Rampage Volkmar, get the Queen on it, plus Skarsnik with the anti-large armor piercing. Volkmar could actually die relatively quick. Comparatively, he's usually very tough to kill. We got Tief Robbers, we have some Durkit Squigs, some more Wolf Riders. Basically, it's like a huge swarming build from King, but I feel like with 3 Empire Knights plus unbreakable troops, I should be able to defend this. And it's a very weird map as well. Like I'm deployed like over here, and it's just such a strange situation. So here the Squig Hoppers thinking about coming in, so I do pull back with the Empire Knights a little bit. I'm trying to really just make sure I'm tight to my handgunners here, and he can't get in for free. Some Flagellants are going to be rushing out to intercept as well. And now the Empire Knights are just forming a bulwark against the darkness here, as we do advance some handgunners out to start shooting at the Wolf Riders. Just trying to, force them in a little bit, force the issue. But 1 Empire Knight defending here, 2 here with Volkmar the Grim. And now we have our frontline fighting, which is going to be underway soon. I think I do miss this charge. No, I don't actually get that, which is cool. But the Sigmar Sons will be able to just vastly outclass those goblins in combat. Granted, they will be poisoned, but it should be okay. I accidentally clicked that. That was a complete misclick right there, and I used my Soulfire Bombardment, which I really regret here in a moment, because I could have wrecked these goblins with it. But the mainline fighting is underway, but the more important thing is my handgunners are functional, and they are shooting at the Arachnaut Queen. He has some Skulkers coming around, but using our Empire Knights to support our angry shirtless Flagellants here. Volkmar the Grim with the Grand Shield of Faith is going to be giving massive ward save to all these units, and also there is a cannon shooting as well. So the cannon is trying to take out the Tief Robbers here, and on the back of the map we do have the Empire Knights who intercept 2 groups of Goblin Wolf Riders, and should be able to win that fight 2v1, but King will probably pull back and realize it's not the best engagement, but Volkmar the Grim is just doing the work of the gods here, the work of Sigmar I should say, and also protecting those handgunners. A couple of Fanatics have been loosed here, but they're clubbing their own goblins, which is very, very classic, but I do like the unbreakable front line against Greenskins. I think it's incredibly useful. And I suppose I'm a little bit biased because I'm playing a Volkmar campaign right now, but man, Flagellants and Sigmar Sons have really been enjoying those guys. So we pull ahead very quickly here in this game. You can see the entire Greenskin front line is buckling here, running for the hills. The cannon doing great work, but more importantly, all 3 handgunners were shooting more or less the entire battle. The Empire Knights provided a huge bastion against the pressure. And the Spider Hatchlings are one of the first things that have gotten into my back line, but the Empire Knights, having defeated the threat in the back of the Wolf Riders, can now come back in and intercept the Squig Hoppers, which they will win that engagement. I also have some spears back here as well, but it looks like the first of the Squig Hoppers are going to be jumping on my poor handgunner. So some of them will be sacrificed for Sigmar, but, I guess there's worse things to be sacrificed for. And here, the Squig Hoppers are now going to be intercepted by the Empire Knights, which have pretty much secured every front. One of them does overchase here, which is a big mistake on my part. And Volkmar the Grim does get rampaged, actually. He's been rampaged for about 18 seconds so far. It was 36 seconds before, 32, I can't remember. And Skarsnik has been able to get huge damage. But thankfully, imagine if the Queen had been alive. The handgunners plus the cannons finishing off that Arachnaut Queen, or at least breaking it off here, has been essential to us getting ahead here in this game. Now the Tief Robbers are broken off by the Light Wizard, and here we have some Brave State troops. The Sigmar Sons up to 51 kills. Empire Knights making very quick work of these Squig Hoppers, who only have 24 melee defense, and aren't terribly efficient at getting through the mass of those Empire Knights yet. The Empire Knights really just, I think, they're one of the best units in the roster. And I remember, when I used to play Empire back in the day, I used to, just be so reliant on Demogryph Knights. And a huge banishment coming down from Volkmar responded, though. Oh my god, look at the Fanatics! Absolute carnage! That one Fanatic ball just KO'd that entire Knight unit. Wow, that was brutal. But nonetheless, the banishment of Volkmar, sending his aid to his troops one last time, is able to break them off as the cannon hopefully will keep the Queen at bay here. And here we do get a net on Skarsnik, and Skarsnik is going to be getting peppered by handgunners from 3 different angles. So you can see, yeah, really taking a ton of damage here. He's Skarsnik is tanky. He doesn't have the best armor, but he has a very high HP pool. But his firepower certainly isn't going to be great for him. So once the firepower does pour in, we send in the Flagellants to go fight this mighty Goblin Warboss here for Sigmar. We'll see how that goes. And yeah, Skarsnik is surrounded now. Volkmar the Grim back in combat using the Soulfire Bombardment to break off the hatchlings, and that is going to be all she wrote. And the Sons of Sigmar shall prevail with the foul greenskin Wasp. So King with a very unorthodox build. Honestly, I was expecting the very traditional stuff you see these days, which is Stone Trolls, right? You see Stone Trolls to counter Empire Heavy Cav because they're super effective there. The Stone Trolls wreck Empire Knights, Knights of the Blazing Sun, though they do fire damage, but Stone Trolls are really strong. Then you basically see Goblins and, Skarsnik. Sometimes you see like a Doom Diver. It can be very nasty to deal with, but I think the build I brought would be very good against Stone Troll meta. I think that the handgunners would wreck them super hard. Empire Knights just kind of hold things in place, and the cannon, of course, is a pretty steady value. And Volkmar will win almost any frontline engagement. Like, he's very, very tough in the front line, except against, like, Black Orcs, but against, like, Savage Orc troops or Goblins, Volkmar all day, baby. And yeah, for King's Army, I think it had some teeth for sure. Honestly, though, looking at it, I mean, the Spider was the only really answer to a Volkmar-type character. King also mentioned to me after the game that Volkmar's like his kryptonite. Like, he just, like, always struggles against him. But, yeah, the Grim Man, he survived, a 20 or 30-plus second rampage and being beaten on by Skarsnik and other units, and it's just an absolute raid boss. But give it a try, guys. I think this Empire build's pretty good. It's certainly less micro-intensive than using, like, Outriders and Pistoliers, and yeah, it's really refreshing to be able to use, like, baseline handgunners again, because, like, almost everyone just kind of uses Outriders. So I think there's something there. Anyways, guys, well played to King. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Empire vs. Greenskin game. We'll see you guys back with more content soon. Take care.